What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and it's a happy day indeed for NBA DFS after what was one of the least interesting NBA DFS days of a non-football day in a very, very long time. Actually, one of the least interesting sports days. I saw that there was a big fight in college basketball, which I didn't even know about. I paid no attention to sports except for my daughter's basketball game. I'm ready to get back into it. Sheets, how about you? What do you think of this slate?
Yeah, you know what? I played the showdown in your daughter's game, and I just missed. I tied with like 75 people for ninth in that game. You know, it's funny. It's hard to get points when the average score for each team is in the 30s. So it's kind of rough to find value in those kinds of slates. But I tried, man. It was either that or go with NHL, which is pretty much would be a strict donation for me. So I went for Santa Barbara, girls middle school basketball. Very small site that you have to go to bet that, though. They'll be our sponsor one of these days.
It's a tough one. There was a girl on the other team, though, that was a stone cold lock. I think she had about 94 steals.
Well, that's the thing with 7th and 8th grade or whatever the age basketball for girls especially. You typically have like one girl who has like 97% usage on one team. That's usually just kind of the way it works.
Yep. I have to say they did come out. They hit their first 2 threes and then proceeded to miss, I think, like the next 35 shots in a row.
Yeah, that was. Again, at that age group, you make 2 threes in a row, you're definitely going to get some negative regression after that.
Sure. What can you do? All right, well, getting into tonight's slate with some slightly higher profile players, we can start it off with the first game. We could talk about the overall actually for a minute because
I'm going to. But the first thing I want to do is I got to figure out where you are because I have to share my screen. So let me just do that.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'm just going to mention real quickly, and I'm sure you're probably going to be in lockstep with this. There's going to be some pretty major chalk on this slate, and I really like the major chalk. But I just want to advise people when you have major chalk all in one game, the natural thing for me to do with when you get that value is to try and run it back with somebody on the other side, or to try and leave it alone on giant slates as much as possible. Play as minimal amount of this as you can. Of course, I'm referring to the Clippers. Just with every single person who's ever had usage on their team at getting a break, there's going to have to be something going on, and it's not like they're going to play to lose. So, they're still projected to win this game against literally the nut matchup for them in Atlanta. So. We're going to have to get into that one later, but that is going to be a source of where a lot of the value of today comes from. A lot of the, I think the highest owned plays will be coming from that game.
I don't know. Like for me, the way I looked at this slate was that, again, like overall, for me, there were 2 spots that were going to be really chalky and highly owned, and one of them was the Clippers, and the other was going to be the Boston with Jaylen Brown out. So,
but I don't think that. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, that's just what was naturally. It seemed to be the case for me that these all stood out as like tremendous value. So again, my overall look of this, and maybe you could correct me, maybe these guys aren't that great plays, but the way I was kind of looking at the slate was, okay, what am I going to do about that? Like you said, should I try to, eat some of the chalk and run it back with some, low-owned guy on the other side? Should I just fade some of it? And I that's the way I was looking at it from a slate overview perspective. But, we could talk about how to prioritize some of this chalk if you want, because I know on FanDuel specifically, these Clipper guys are just kind of locks. Well, there's another guy on FanDuel that's a lock. We'll talk about FanDuel another time, I guess. But I really felt that the Celtic guys were just about as good as the Clipper guys. So maybe, but I still think they're going to be highly owned too. But now the new news that came out was that Bagley's going to be out, so you might get a really high owned Dwayne Dedmon also if he's going to start at 3,100. So it's going to be difficult to find a good way to attack it by GPPs. But we'll figure out a way.
Yeah, I'm just going to point out real quickly, the difference to me with the Celtics is that they're basically in the same position they were in the last game. They just didn't have – they've been going back and forth like this for a while. No Howard, we had no Kemba, we had no Tatum for a game, we had no Brown. So to me, they're actually like their prices are low and it's a good matchup, but there's nothing about that. It's not like they have a bunch of guys out or anything like that. They're missing one guy who's not even – he's like their 3rd highest offensive usage guy. It's like –
yeah, and the fact of the matter is, like you said, I mean, the Clipper matchup is just obviously much juicier than although the Celtic matchup is no slouch either.
No, it's a great matchup. That's the thing that's what does make it interesting. But I'm just sort of making an argument because I think we're going to get into a lot of good plays in this slate, and I don't want to just get rid of and say, okay, well, we have to play these guys because they're in these spots because there's so many good plays on this slate.
All right, sounds good.
The first one?
So let's just go game by game. And what was interesting this first game, Philadelphia-Toronto, I mean, they're kind of pushing me here. And the reason why I say that is I've made fun and I've kind of laughed and I've joked about not playing this guy that only gets like 5.12x. But dude, Kyle Lowry at freaking 6,600 is a little kind of tempting, I have to say.
I hear you. It's definitely trying. I mean, I don't think it's just Kyle Lowry. I think I could actually make a pretty strong case for everybody on this team, even in this matchup. One thing about Lowry is it's not like even on a big slate, he's going to be owned at this price. People are not silly enough to just fade him.
I guess so, right?
Probably too well, yeah, to avoid. But I think that the best play in this game is Pascal Siakam, especially with Embiid out of the middle. Like, again, they're still the good defensive team, but they're not the same team without Embiid plugging up the middle. They play at a faster pace as well, and I think you could see Siakam really thrive on the other side of this matchup. And at 6,900, I actually think I would probably prefer him over Lowry, especially at lower ownership, but that doesn't really matter. Again, tons of great plays in this slate. I don't mind if you want to just avoid the situation, but but Gasol, Siakam, and Lowry, but especially Siakam and Lowry rate as really strong plays, even on a tough slate.
Well, here the thing is that again, if I'm operating on the assumption that I'm gonna have to eat some of this kind of chalk here. I'm trying to find guys that can really smash, or that I can correlate, whatever. So, even though he's 6,600 and a good value, I don't know if Lowry's going to fit. I mean, I would want him to be lower owned, right, for me to kind of play him. And like you said, I mean, I'm not the only one who notices these 6,600, and all the projection models are going to pop for him as well. So you're not fooling anybody by taking Kyle Lowry. And like you said, maybe Siakam would be a better idea because, like you said, he's definitely going to. I don't know if he's going to be no owned, but he's going to be lower owned for sure. I mean, I'm looking at making 10% out of him, which again is what you're looking for if you're going to eat some of this other chalk anyway. So, what would be nice if there was somebody good on Philly. If you could give me,
there is.
If you could be the Ben Simmons whisperer for me and tell me if he's going to have another big day.
I know you didn't like him the other day when I liked him, and I'm telling you again, this is. So I'm just going to point it out. So just from a basketball standpoint, now 4-0, they've won their last 4 in a row without Embiid. Ben Simmons in these games has averaged 41 minutes a game. Ben Simmons has not played his ceiling game until the last game, which he really did have an explosion for 84. There is nothing like the point guards against Toronto is something that I don't usually want to pick on, although Trey in that same night got lucky to get into overtime and score 25 in overtime or whatever it was. Fantasy points, not real points, but took me out of sort of having a chance to win all the money that day. But anyway, Ben Simmons is, I think, going to be incredibly low owned. I think his floor, realistically, if this game is closed, is literally like 45 to 50. And I think, again, you get that 70-plus point upside for a guy who people are going to mostly avoid. I'm not going to say to load up on him because there's a lot of good plays on this slate, but if you just want to pivot and you could play Lowry, Siakam, and Ben Simmons and play all the chalk you want other than that, and I think you'll be good enough. Although Lowry and Siakam I expect to have more ownership. And I would imagine people will catch on to Ben Simmons as the day goes on. Like, he's a little bit has too much upside to just be completely overlooked.
Yeah, the thing is that, first of all, something that you said, be careful not you, but people that pay a lot of attention to how teams do against point guards and different positions and stuff. Remember, Ben Simmons, I mean, you can call him whatever you want, but he's like a freak. You know what I mean? He's not really a point guard. He can play he can play every position. So I wouldn't get too like if you see, oh my God, but I don't want to play Simmons because Toronto's really good against point guards. All right, great. What happens when he plays like the 5, which he plays sometimes also. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Right, exactly. Well, let's move over to the next one because I do think Simmons is the only guy on play on Philly. Like, I don't want to get in and do what all these other shows do and mention guys who just like nobody. If we're playing Al Horford or Tobias Harris, there's plenty of times and places for that. This is not the time or place. That's simple.
Okay. So Oklahoma City, Orlando. I think this is the time and place to play nobody from Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And
only if we get there's some rumors about potentially one of this. If something happens to one of the centers being it's only if Adams is out that it would make any difference. Sorry.
So if Adams is out, then we have what if Adams is out? Big deal. So
no Noel.
Well, what's his price nowadays?
4.4.
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna have Dedmon at 3.1. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
and Harold. By the way, I want to give myself credit. By the way, when I said I made a mistake. Remember the other day when I'm like, I can't believe Bagley's like only center eligible, and I was wrong. It was Harold that I meant. So Harold was the guy that was moved to only center eligible. So he's another guy that people are going to have to play. So they're not going to be able to play all three of those guys.
That's a good point. I still don't know where I stand on Dedmon. I've got to do a couple of shifting, but I'm glad because we'll get to that game in a minute. And I think that everything's just now updated. So.
Well, speaking of which, at the center position, my only play from this game is on the other side is Vooch. And as I'm kind of like talking myself into this, the whole thing is the center position is going to be kind of rough business. You know, there's going to be kind of, so these good values at center could make, it could make paying up for center kind of unappealing. Yet on the other hand, it could make it unappealing for everybody, which makes it really, really low owned. So that would definitely be a contrarian way to go. And I think Vooch, by the way, tonight, just from talking this out, like if they announce Dedmon is starting, for example, I think Vooch is kind of forced to be 5% owned almost.
I think he is going to be 5% owned no matter what. And I think the projections are off on him. I think that it's a tough matchup with Adams. So I'm more interested in Vooch if Adams is out, but I agree with you. He's the only play in this game. And I mean, this guy, if you just take the overall numbers of what he's done, take a look at his game log, for example. It's a very safe, warm, and fuzzy feeling that any game, basically, he's going to go out there and get you right around averaging 45, which is basically where he's been at since the break. Now, is that enough tonight? Probably not, but is there upside on that? Yeah. I don't know how much I'm going to end up getting to him. Like we said, there's some other good center plays, but you're going to have an incredibly low-owned Vooch at a very reasonable price that I think is certainly interesting. There's upside in his minutes, and his projections to me are a little bit off.
Yeah, I mean, talking through this, I mean, the combination of everything we just said, it's going to make it difficult for me to get to him. But
it's going to make it difficult for everyone. That's the good end of that.
It's going to make it difficult for everybody. So that's why he's going to be low owned. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have him written in early in the day as a guy I want to be well ahead of the field on. I just don't have any idea what that means, and I won't know until we're done with the show.
Okay. All right. I guess we can move ahead to Sacramento. And the big news coming out of Sacramento was that Marvin Bagley is out. And what that very well could do is open up a really great piece of value and chalk, for that matter, in Dwayne Dedmon, especially if in fact he's starting. So that's my first comment on this game. With Drummond on the other side, it's kind of difficult for them to not play him. Let's just put it that way. And the other guy on Sacramento that I kind of like, I guess, a little bit. I don't know exactly how he's going to fit in. What else I'm doing is going to be Fox. He looks all right. On Detroit, I mean, I'm not going to argue against Drummond every game. So, Drummond is fine. And if you want to play a Fox Rose thing, I guess that's okay. Something about it just doesn't.
Jackson's back.
Reggie Jackson is back. Even still, I mean,
they'll probably just diminish. I mean, I don't think you play. If it was a smaller slate, I think Rose would still be in play. I just don't think on this slate you can do it.
Can you play Reggie Jackson at 3K?
No, because I don't think he'll play enough minutes. But I definitely will consider it. Like he's the guy I actually have in this. I don't have very many guys in this game, and he is one of them.
So what do you think of Fox? What do you think? You do not like Rose with Jackson back?
I don't like Rose with Jackson back. I don't like Rose anyway at 7K on this slate particularly. I just don't really think this is that I need to get anything here except for maybe Dedmon, depending on if he's starting, how many minutes I can figure out he's going to get. As of right now, they could play Harry Giles a little bit on. It just doesn't seem like it would work out very well against Drummond. And again, we have to make sure Drummond's in. But assuming Drummond's in, I think that really this game is mostly a stay away for me. Buddy Hield would be fine just because of the minutes, but it's mostly a stay away, and then taking shots on Reggie Jackson. If Reggie Jackson's announced to have a 24 minutes restriction or something like that, I feel very comfortable. If they say he's going to play less than 20 minutes, I don't know that I'll want any of them at all.
Okay.
But 24.
It'd be an interesting pivot, though, if you wanted to pivot off of Dedmon.
I think unless we hear Dedmon is in the starting lineup, which I think is going to happen, we're both pretty logical guys, like that's probably likely. But unless we hear that, I'm not so sure Dedmon's going to get the love that you think he is going to.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, well, you know what? We can get. I'll tell you. Oh, this is fun.
Once they announce him in, you're right.
No. So this is fun. This is fun. So no. It's no fun if we wait to announce he's starting. So let's sight unseen. I'll say in the what's the big tournament you're playing? What's the biggest in the 555?
5 or 444, yeah.
Whatever that is on DraftKings, I will go over 40% right now.
You're going
without even knowing
at it. Okay. All right. Well, you won the last bet, so this time I'll double or nothing.
So you owe me one soda, and then we're going to go for double or nothing, like 2 sodas or nothing. Yeah.
I could literally see him being 60%, but I'm still going to take the other side.
Yeah, but I have a little anti-bid because they haven't announced he's starting. So
You're right. I know. Okay.
Like, who are you kidding? If he's starting, he's going to be 80%, but that's okay. Let's
He's going to be popular.
Yeah. So let's move on. What's the next game do I have?
It always worries me though to play a guy who's played like more than 30 minutes once in like 2 months. You know what I mean? But
yeah, the one time he played 30 minutes was when everybody played Giles, because when Giles started, Devin played like 30 minutes off the bench.
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not all that interested in this game outside of the Dedmon-Jackson punt plays. And then I do think you're going to get low ownership on Drummond in a really good matchup. Like,
same issue though, right? I mean, the center position.
But yeah, but like, I mean, I think it's probably worth taking a shot on Drummond. I mean, I just feels like 50 is where he's going to be around, and I think there's definitely room for upside on that.
You're not, but again, I mean, even on DraftKings, I mean, you're going to have to not play either Harrow or Dedmon if you play any of those centers.
Yep,
it's rough.
That's rough. You're right.
All right, Lakers, Knicks. Lakers. If anybody, I'll play LeBron, I suppose. But I don't know if I'm going to get to him. But hey, maybe I will actually. Maybe that is one way I can get off of some of this other forward chalk is take LeBron James, and we could do that. So he is in play for me actually. So
yeah, LeBron go with the Garden narrative. Why not?
What's that?
Go with the Garden narrative.
Oh, he's going back to go. Oh,
yeah, anytime somebody goes to the Garden, you always get like a little extra, you know.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do this time. And boy, I always do this, and I just don't. For whatever reason, I just don't think I want to today. I don't think I'm going to play LeBron with like Randall, or LeBron with Marcus Morris, or LeBron with Payton. Although those are my 3 favorite Knicks: Randall, Morris, Payton. I just feel the combination of the spread plus the fact that the Lakers play good defense. Plus, just whatever. I just don't think I'm going to get there today with that idea. But if you did have to play a Nick, which you don't, Randall, Morris, and Payton would be my 3 kind of marginal guys I would play, and I would play no one else in the Lakers. So maybe I'll play a couple lineups or whatever. Maybe I'll throw LeBron in as a one-off or something like that.
Yeah, I think LeBron as a one-off is kind of interesting. I don't really want to play a lot of this game in general.
No.
I think you can make an argument for Mitchell Robinson. The minutes have been actually pretty good. He literally hasn't done anything from the offensive end, but they might need his minutes again tonight. And I don't know. I'm not going to go there. It's just the only guy I sort of had to think about. I think Marcus Morris is going to get some love because his price is definitely reasonable. Not sure that I want to do that on this size slate.
Okay. So Washington, Miami, I mentioned in the last 3 or 4 slates that Bradley Beal has played. I mentioned that, there's probably going to be a time where Bradley Beal trolls everybody and gets a zillion minutes and smashes. And I kind of want to be ahead of that. I mean, if I had to pick a slate to try it on, it would be a slate where I really needed kind of a low-owned guy and, in a tough matchup, which would keep him low-owned. So maybe this is a slate where I might have to gamble on it. I don't know. That would be my one shot on Washington. And then on Miami, I guess I can keep playing Butler and lose, I suppose. He would be my top projected guy, but guy never seems to get there for me. Him and Bam would be my 2 guys. And then obviously look for the news on all these guards that you never know whether they're going to play or not. Someone was just announced out, though. Is it Winslow? One of them. Derek Jones? Somebody on –
Winslow we know is out.
Oh, Winslow. That was just it then. I don't know.
No, I don't see Derek Jones is out.
Okay, maybe it was just him then.
Yeah.
So for me, I would, again, depending on how chalky the rest of my lineup is, I mean, presuming Beal's going to be low-owned, which I presume he is. I mean, he's just not playing any minutes. I guess the last game he did.
I think he'll have some ownership tonight.
Yeah, I don't know then. Again, if he was just kind of really ignored, I would probably try it.
So I think that I totally agree with all the first things you said about Bradley Beal, and I think I'm just going to keep playing that angle, and
Okay.
just regardless of anything, if the game is at all reasonably close, I expect him to be well into the 30s in minutes, probably more in the 34 to 35 range. I think that I don't care about a tough matchup for Bradley Beal at 7.2. You could literally put God on him and it's not going to make a difference at 7.2 if you get the normal Bradley Beal. And if they don't get blown out, I mean, if you talk about games with blowout risk, I would say this is definitely one of them. That's it for me. And I mean, it's weird because I would want to run it back with someone from Miami. And while like Bam makes some sense and Butler makes some sense, I'm just not going to do it. And then the other guys' prices are even kind of up a little bit. Like I just don't see any reason to do it.
I will say, by the way, that I think that Miami is up for this game. I don't know if they played since, but I think relatively recently, within the past month or so, I think Washington like went into Miami and beat the crap out of them. They like made like every shot or something.
Yeah.
And I was worried about playing Butler against Washington because of the blowout risk. What's that? Without Beal, exactly. And I was worried about Butler playing in that game, playing him because of the blowout risk. And it turns out that they were the ones in danger of getting blown out. And he had to play 36 minutes, and he still didn't get there, I think. So I think that Miami is going to be definitely up for this game, which I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe they'll make the blowout risk more. I don't know. But, look, Washington showed that they can hang with them with no Beal. So, my son would say, oh, why can't they do better with Beal? So maybe the game could stay close.
Maybe you could argue for Bam as a power forward on FanDuel. I just don't want to use the center spot.
Oh, my God. Is he another center only? Oh, my God.
So that's, we're back to the old days, man. It's all the centers again. It's finally back. It's taken the whole season to get back here.
Yeah. You know what you're going to hear all day long? Play all these guys on fantasy draft.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody's such a genius. Hey, let's play all these guys on fantasy draft, and they will all be 70%. And it's like,
exactly. No, I know. It's funny.
All right, move on.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the next game for me is like really, really important because, well, first of all, I mean, I'll go over the Boston guys, and then you could tell me how you like Marcus Smart better, but we'll talk about that. And then we'll figure out whether we want to either just play him, not play him, or figure out some Memphis guy to run it back with. So for me, the top three Boston guys, now this presuming Kemba is in. Kemba's out, then
they said he's available.
Okay. Kemba's out, then it's all hilly and free. But assuming he's in, even still, with Jaylen Brown out, it makes it pretty easy. I mean, Hayward, Tatum, and Walker, to me, look like the three best plays by kind of a decent amount. And under that, I have Marcus Smart. I was actually one of the 0.9% of the people that hit cancer the other day for A. Didn't help me really. But he looks just okay. But those three main guys, Hayward, Tatum, and Walker, look to be just really, really good here. And I presume they're going to be highly owned. Well, you could talk me into that or off of that. And so if I'm going to play those guys, how many of them do I want to play? And then do I want to stack and run it back with Memphis guys? And, fortunately, the same comment about Memphis is, I know kind of who I'm going to go to, but I don't know exactly which one's going to get there. I could go with Jonas Valanciunas. Ooh, there it is, another center. You got to be kidding me, right? Or you could go to Jay Crowder, who we've talked about on many occasions as being a good upside guy. Or if you want to be cute, you don't want Giannis Valanciunas, you can now take Jaren Jackson Jr. because he's a power forward on Draftkings. Or you could go to John Morant again. So you could play the Boston guys and get correlation with Memphis guys if you want to do that, or you could fade one or two of the Boston guys. So what do you think about the Boston guys? What do you think about this game in general?
So I agree about Kemba, Tatum, and Hayward standing out. I think the ownership will reflect it, especially with Kemba and Hayward. I'm not in love with the Tatum play at that price. I'd prefer to play Kemba. I feel like he gets that crazy big game more often just because he's got the ball in his hands, if nothing else. Hayward is going to be the one who's going to be like just the crazy ultra mega chalk. And I get it. I mean, he's going to play a lot of minutes. But I don't see why it couldn't go Marcus Smart's way 1 out of 40 times, which is basically what it's going to happen because no one's going to play Marcus Smart.
I mean, he scored 60 the other day. I mean,
I know. I like Marcus Smart just as a low-owned option here. He'll be the one I have the most exposure to, along with Hayward, and Kemba. I will definitely be probably ahead of the field on as well. Probably not going to go crazy with Tatum personally or Cantor, but I really like Marcus Smart as a pivot. Depending on what value opens up at the end of the day, I don't know where I'll end up on this, but I do think that you could play any two of those guys, or even all three, and run it back with Jay Crowder, who's like the only guy I'm considering from Memphis, and even then, it would probably have to be in the at least 2v1 stack or something. But I think he's actually in play. I think there's a huge upside on his minutes, by the way. You could easily see him playing over 30 minutes in his trip back to Boston. If you don't think that's going to fire a guy like him up a little bit and maybe get him an extra shot or two, then I think you're probably wrong. And, I think he's got more upside than people give him credit for. I mean, the guy, it's funny because you look at the projection systems and they'll say his ceiling is like 25 or 30. And sure, maybe that's realistic. He just put up 30 the game before last. He put up 39 3 games before that. He put up 62 2 games before that. I like Jay Crowder at 45. I don't know how much of him I'm going to end up with depending on the other value, but I think as a run back, if you're going to play two Boston guys, he'd be the one I'd most want to play.
and you don't like Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Not particularly. I would like Vote Valanciunas, but we've already talked about our center issues.
Right.
I actually really think Valanciunas might have a really nice game here, but there's so many centers.
Crazy, right? But yeah, I guess so. All right, so I get this game is going to be, I think, pretty important.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's one of the two most important.
Yeah, and we're going to get to like not the next game, but the game after. Next 2 games after, I think are going to be pretty interesting. But well, let's just get to it. Let's do Denver. Let's do Denver, Houston first. So on the Denver side, you got to be kidding.
Wait, you skipped one. You skipped the biggest one.
Oh, I didn't do the Clipper game yet. Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're right.
All right, so the Clipper game, they're on. Well, let's do Draftkings. That's what we're doing. There are, with what's his name out. Not only is Paul George out, not only is Kawhi out, but kind of a sneaky little out is Patrick Beverley is out too. So what you're gonna get is, I'm gonna guess the 2 most popular guys on the slate. Let's try it. Is going to be Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. They're going to project as such, and it's the only reason you would keep Harrell's ownership down is for the same reason we struggled getting all these other centers in. Maybe people play these other centers and keep Harrell's ownership down a little bit, but it's kind of be tough to get away from him or Lou Williams. Now, again, we could talk about the secondary Clippers guys too, like Landry Shamet. Zubac, another center. Maybe JaMychal Green, Jerome Robinson with Beverly out. Maybe he gets some minutes or something like that. But what's interesting is that with Beverly out, what that also does is just increases the viability of the Trae Young run back, pretty healthily. He's already projecting Trae Young's already projecting to be a pretty good value here and a very natural run back with this Clipper chalk. And right now, Trae Young's not projected to be that highly owned, but with Beverly out also, which makes Clippers with Beverly and Kawhi and George out, makes them much worse defensively. Trae Young could freaking go nuts here in this spot. So I certainly would consider, as not an alternative, but as an addition to Clipper guys, is just trying to find a way to get Trae Young in there also. And as have you seen with Deadman value and other stuff, you could definitely make it happen. So that would be my first look at this game. Let me see, anybody else in Atlanta? I guess Herder's okay. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I think Clippers like the major bit of chalk on the slate. And, those top 2 at least are tough for me to get away from in this matchup. So take it away.
Yeah, I think that this is a really tough spot to fade, especially I guess it depends on the other center that opens up. But unless you do like a double punt thing at center, I don't really understand the build you'd be going to try and avoid Harrell. I just feel like he's always going to be in the 40s here. It's a perfect situational matchup for him. I would be considering him if everyone was healthy in this matchup. Lou Williams is it's interesting to play a guy that chalky at not like an incredibly cheap price. I just feel so safe with it though anyway. it's a different thing with Lou Williams. He can score a bunch of different ways. He's not like D'Angelo Russell, who doesn't ever get to the foul line and things like that. He can score all those ways. They're going to need points. I think Shamet is actually the guy I might end up with the most exposure to on their team. Just at a pay down that's going to have to take shots. What could hurt a guy like Shamet? Maybe a guy like Magruder as a long-term pivot. Like, I'm going to mention, like, I don't love that Magruder as a play overall, or Jermichael Green. But if you're going to play 3 or 4 of these guys and run it back with Trey and John Collins, which I think is a really viable way to go, I think you can play, one of the Jermichael Greens, one of the Rodney Magruders, somewhere in there. I'm not going to play Jerome Robinson, but I understand it. I just am not going to do it. But if I had to prioritize, I would have Williams, Harrell, and Shamet on a tier of their own, and then taking shots on guys like Green, and Magruder, and I mean, honestly, potentially even Zubac. Like, I know it sounds weird, but at his price, I think he can actually pay off here. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know how they're going to run their lineups out there. It's going to be weird because we haven't seen the situation yet from them all year. But as a core, you certainly think you're going to want to have at least 2 Clippers pieces, I think.
Yeah, you could. You know what you could do? You could go play Zubac on a fantasy draft. Where, you can play 11 centers.
Yeah, there you go. There's gonna have to be
what do you think? In
hybrid
other words,
thing.
you got major chalk here. So how do you fight that? You know what I mean?
So you fight it back with. I mean, you can, first of all, you can run it back with. I think Trey is going to end up getting more ownership realistically.
He has to, right?
Yeah, but I think that Trey and John Collins are definitely awesome run back options. The prices are cheap enough, and the guy who won't get any ownership as a run back option is Herter. So maybe you do that. Maybe you play a Herter Collins lineup, or even a Herter Young at this price in this kind of game environment. I feel like this is not the Clippers with 3 of the best 10 defenders in the NBA are injured and they're all on the same team.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a spot where I feel like they can really attack them too. So this is a game I want to get pieces of stacks to. So I would play a Herter and a Collins, or a Herter and a Young. I don't think I would go so far as to play DeAndre Hunter, but I don't think it's terrible. It's a really important game to try and get pieces of. We're gonna have to find other places, maybe some low-owned spots to pivot.
I think I have a couple of guys coming up.
Okay.
I think we could find it.
So we can eat a little bit of chalk, and honestly, we can also play one of Harrell and Williams, split them up a little bit. I don't think like they both always end up with 50 here, which is what it would take to really kill you on this size slate.
I think they kind of have to. No, maybe they don't. Maybe
not 50. They'll be in the 40s, I think, but I don't think like if they both end up right around 42. You could totally have avoided them and be fine.
I mean, what a tremendous pace game for like a Montrezl Harrell. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Anyway, all right. So Denver, Houston. So let's add Nikola Jokic to the mix of centers that look pretty decent. Who, go play a fantasy draft. But I know he looks to be pretty good. Aside from him, guy who's going to I think he's going to get ownership. He looks pretty good. Is Monty Morris again? So he's the other guy from Denver that I would look at. I wouldn't go to Barton today, and I wouldn't go back to push Jeremy Grant up pretty good, right? So it would be just Jokic for me. But you got to wait in line, man, if you want to play a center spot for me. I mean, there's a line of centers that we got. There's even a decent line of centers I'd rather pay up for than him. Also, one's coming up in the next game. So I don't think I'm going to play anybody from Denver. I'm not going to lie. And on the Houston side, Harden, Westbrook. How many bad games in a row is Harden going to have? I don't know, but actually, he didn't have a bad game.
He played.
They both look fine.
He played absolutely. Yeah. I mean, no. In real basketball, he has been one of the worst players in history. So in the last month, he's shooting 26% from 3-point range and 36% overall from the floor.
Yeah, he set a record, I think, for most 3-pointers missed in one game or something.
And you know what? And sure, he makes up for it by being great at the free throw line, but he's actually hasn't even been as great at the free throw line.
The other thing that you can say is that he's 3 for his last 26 from 3.
Yeah.
And he still put up 50.
Yes. That's right. And also Westbrook is going nuts. The one thing is, like, they really are. Like, Westbrook has been unbelievably good. He's been by far the better player on the team. It's not even
absolutely.
but it's going to turn back at some point. And that point is going to be when Houston starts winning games. I'm a little surprised at this. Why is this spread so high?
That's a really good question.
It doesn't make one.
Oh, because I guess because of no Jamal Murray.
Because of no Jamal Murray is going to change it to what would have been a 2.5 point or a 2-point spread to 8.
Well, I don't know. It'd be that. I mean, Houston.
Oh, and no Harris, I guess. Oh, no, Harris is playing.
I have him as out. I mean, I'm presuming him out, but
I have maybe we should presume Harris. I guess we have Harris as questionable, but yeah, if he's out, that does I only have Houston Morris out.
Yeah, it looks like he's trending in the right direction. So yeah, if Harris plays, I don't think I'll play.
Yeah, I think nobody. I just think you just play nobody. And it sucks because you want to take people against Houston, especially the way they're playing these days, but not for me.
What do you like? Would you play those guys on Houston? Would you play Harden or Westbrook?
I would lean, to be honest. I actually like both of them a little bit, and I think by the end we're going to have some places we can spend up. So maybe this is a good spot to actually play these guys. And we could ride the hot hand, keep playing Westbrook, but we also, like we said, James Harden's not going to keep missing forever. I think this game should stay competitive. I'm very weirded out by this point spread. It doesn't make any sense to me. First of all, Houston hasn't been playing well enough to deserve this against anybody. Anyway, but I think that where I would want to be is well ahead of the field on those guys, but they're going to be so low owned that won't take much. Unless we really do get that ultimate value opening up, you might see him a little bit more owned. But I really like Capella in this spot. I think that he actually matches up in a really, really good way with a guy like Jokic because of his athleticism, his speed. Jokic would have trouble running up and down the court. I don't see this as a matchup where I want to attack Jokic, even though he can always put up his 70 and do whatever. But I do really like the Houston guys in Harden, Westbrook, and Capella. And then on Denver, I'm only considering Monty Morris. If I had to rank the Houston guys, I would rank it actually Capella 1. I think I would just go slightly Westbrook 2 over Harden. I don't know. It's very close. It's going to depend on exactly how much money we have to spend. It's hard to ignore what Westbrook's been doing, but I just feel like that Harden 80-point game is coming.
Yeah, Clint Capella, you could do me a favor. You could fill out an application for a spot on my center roster, and you could just kind of just put it in the pile, and we'll get to you after we interview everybody else in the field, and it's going to be a lot of competition for those slots. You're
right. I just expect him to have a big game here, but you're right. We're not going to be able to get him in.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, he's close enough in price to Harrell that that's a pretty nasty pivot if you get away with it.
So if I did that, I would probably play both of them.
Ooh, and then screw dead.
And then just say, just take the variance on the cheap guy. I mean, we have cheap options at other positions, so it's a question of how many guys do we want to. Yeah, we have 3,800 Landry Shamet.
Yeah, I just said Shamet. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to the next game. For me, my first idea on this was if I was going to have to eat chalk in a lot of other positions. What I was going to do is I was going to try either this game or the next game. I was going to try to do one of my silly things, and
I know what that is.
What I was gonna do is on the Minnesota side, I was actually going to. This would be the spot to fade the Harrell and pay all the way up for Cat. Okay, that would be kind of the way I would attack this. Is to do that and run him back with Zach LaVine. I don't think I would gonna go. My next best option is obviously to go to Wiggins. Okay, as a possibility. So LaVine, Wiggins, or LaVine, Cat, but the Cat one would be kind of nasty to do, because we talked about center position is so rough out there that I'd have to fade some really, really, really great place to do it. But, they held him out a while. He's slowly creeping back minutes, and Chicago is they don't really have any centers, and this could be the day, man. This could be the day where Cat goes for 70, and It'd be cool to have him when you have all this chalk at center. So that would be one thing I would consider doing. And anybody else in Chicago I looked at? Yeah, these other guys actually not bad either. Remember, Minnesota is a team we'd like to attack. So you want to try some Chris Dunn, some Lowry, some Satoransky. I don't know. This could be one way that I kind of get a little different. Is kind of stack this game up a little bit and then just put in the rest of the chalk wherever I can afford them. The Clippers chalk or the Celtic chalk or whatever. So that's my first kind of mad scientist idea.
I actually think it's a really, really good idea. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting there just because the prices make it really weird. Like,
Yeah, it's
I can
tough.
spend up, but like, there's no like, do I really want to make my spend up on this slate like Levine, and then I'm paying more for Cat than I am for Westbrook. I'm paying almost as much
I hear
for
you.
Levine as I am for Westbrook. It just feels weird. But then again, this is like how you win tournaments is like big slates where we've taken shots with guys like Zach Levine who always have that 60+ point upside. And just is if you him and Cat in lineups tonight, do you know the ownership percentage that's going to be? 1% maximum, literally. That's just not happening.
Yep.
And I want to add though, if you play Andrew Wiggins on this slate, I think you've lost your mind.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm
But
with
I
you.
think it's an interesting way to go. I just think that there's other ways I'm finding too many other routes to build, but I really like that call. Like I almost would consider playing like a later slate or something, the 5 p.m. slate and on, just because I love this game. But there's too many other spots that I think you have to get through.
Yeah. You could do all this. I mean, if you thought it was a good play, I mean, like you could afford it. You know, if you wanted to do
Oh
Levine
yeah,
and Towns, you could definitely do it with Dedmon. You know what I mean?
no, yeah, you could do it.
All right, so that's idea number one. You like anybody else from Chicago, or
Um,
anybody I said, or anything, or?
they're like on another slate, I would have had interested in a lot of them, and I could argue to dean them all up at 10%. Like
Well, don't forget
Satoransky.
that it's a 220-point total against the team that you love to attack. You
I
know,
know
and
Satoransky. They're all cheap. They all are in a good spot. You got Chris Dunn mini revenge. But no, more importantly, he's just been playing plenty of minutes. I just feel like
he played
everybody
for
has been.
Minnesota. He played for Minnesota.
Chris Dunn, he played for, yeah, that's where he came from. That's where he was drafted.
I don't know that.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like sort of they're all fine but it's just probably not the right slate for them. But I wouldn't mind ending up like with the Chris Dunn, especially, would probably be the guy I'd prefer the most.
Okay. All right, you ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the next game is my next kind of mad scientist idea. So Indiana against Phoenix. Again, one idea that I have is going back to the well with what I usually like to do is involve Devin Booker in a stack if I like anybody on the team, and maybe we'll eat chalk elsewhere. So what I would do is consider putting Devin Booker in, and fortunately on the other side, there are, I mean, really 3 plays that you can make. I mean, first of all, I guess the easy play you can make is Brogdon, right? I mean, he's pretty cheap and he's probably going to project pretty well. Maybe he'll have some ownership, but we're stacking him with Booker. And or if you want, you could go back to your to Sabonis, who looks to be a really strong play as part of a stack here. So you could do that. Or if you really want, you could go for a little TJ Warren revenge, right? Going back to Phoenix. So that is definitely an idea that I might have. You could even play Rubio, who I usually don't like to play, but I think this is kind of a weird, kind of off the board stacky type of game that I know exactly where I would go, and I would filter in the chalkier Clipper guys or the chalkier Celtic guys alongside of that.
Yeah, Phoenix has been getting lit up a little bit lately, so I actually sort of do like the idea of playing some of these indie guys. I just want to point out that in 4 out of his last 7, I'm sorry, excuse me, no, 4 out of his last 7 games, Sabonis has put up 50 or more. And this is another very, very strong matchup for him. The games where he didn't were against Philadelphia. One was a blowout, and then one was against Utah. So basically, if he's faced a normal team lately, he's been between 50 and 58. And by the way, the 4 games previous to that, he was at 43, 47, 47, and 47. And it just feels like the projection on him, assuming this game is close, which on the road you should assume that it would be, is just way low. And if he's going to score 50 fantasy points for me here, I'm more than happy to take that for 7.9 as a little bit of a pivot off of some of the other guys that are a little cheaper, but we're going to like. I also like Brogdon. I think Brogdon is definitely in play. I like this matchup for these guys, but I don't know that I'm going to end up getting to Brogdon. I do think I'm going to end up getting to quite a bit of Sabonis. I just think he's going to be really, really strong in this matchup. And I don't really like anybody on the other side. It's just, like you said, if you want to play those guys, I think I would just run back Oubre only. I'm sorry, not Oubre, Booker only. and just hope for the ceiling thing. I'm just not going to touch anything else personally.
Well, I mean, you hope for the ceiling thing. I mean, it gets like, yeah, I guess he's 8,700, but I mean, you get 50 every game. I mean, pretty much.
Oh, he's been incredible with it too. I mean, he's also had some incredible matchups, and he had the weird thing that he always does, where he always does that monster game in Boston. He literally does it every year.
Crazy, right?
He play once a year in Boston, and he goes nuts every single time. But
yeah, hey, you know who's coming back soon? I think that's if you forgot he's on the team, but Victor Oladipo, I think, is coming back soon.
I know it's going to be.
They're not going to be bad, huh?
They're good.
Yeah.
Anyway. Wait, Indiana's already good.
No, I know that. I'm being a little sarcastic. I mean,
yeah. No, they'll be good.
Unfortunately, they picked a tough season to try to be good when Milwaukee just never loses. But
yeah, but actually, we'll see what happens in the postseason.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess just the one game left. No, it's a couple games left. So, San Antonio, New Orleans. I mean, this is going to be a really highly watched game because Zion Williamson is coming back.
I can't wait.
What?
I can't wait for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm here too. As far as fantasy goes for this game, I think I'm kind of off it. Like the only guy I really like from this game, and you think that I would want a carload, right? I mean, San Antonio is playing at New Orleans in a 200 zillion point total, but for whatever reason, like the only guys that are coming up are the guys I just kind of don't want to play. Like LaMarcus Aldridge looks to be kind of my favorite play, but I don't know. And then there's DeJounte Murray, who it just never seems to on the one hand, it never seems to get the minutes I need. Yet on the other hand, in a really fast-paced game, he has a lot of steal upside here, I guess, maybe in this matchup. So maybe get a little boost there. So maybe I try DeJounte Murray. Maybe you'll bail me out of this because I really didn't have as much interest in this game as I thought I was going to. Maybe also on the New Orleans side because Zion is back. He's going to take minutes away from the guys that we're kind of used to and usage away from the guys that we're used to. And I'm not going to play Zion. Although, you know what? I'm not going to yell at anybody if they play him. You want to know the truth. I mean, They give him 20 minutes and very easily give up 40 fantasy points in the 20 minutes, but I don't think I'm going to do it. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I'm sort of with most of what you're saying. I do think Aldridge rates to be a really strong play. We've seen that story before. But the thing is, it's not like he's been killing us when we've seen that story. It's just like he's putting up 35s and 36s and stuff like that. When he's under 7K, it's always hard for me not to have like at least a little bit of interest in him. And, if he's going to end up with a ton of ownership, I don't think I need to go there. Like there's plenty of spots here. But if it ends up, somewhere in the either low teens or 10% range, I think he definitely could crush this price tag in a supreme matchup for him. I think DeJounte Murray also it's enough as enough upside to where he's definitely a viable play, but not the same way that LaMarcus Aldridge is, in my opinion. On the other side, I agree with you. Like we saw what happened when Drew came back playing good. Like this team I'm really interested to see this from just a game perspective. Like this team has been fun to watch. The Pelicans have really turned their season around. They're now the favorite to make the 8th seed in the Wild, even though they're 4 games back, or maybe even 5 games back. And then you've got 20 minutes out of Zion coming tonight as a ceiling, probably. But it's still a little tempting on FanDuel at 4.5. I don't really think it's logical, except for that I want to have him in a lineup for fun. But I don't think it's worth putting significant money on it. It just doesn't make any sense, to be honest.
I agree.
It's a shame that it doesn't. I'd love to make an argument for how he could get there and all these things, and it's just
you know what's going to happen. He's going to end up by the time he's playable, he'll be 9,000. You know what I mean? Like
it'll be 9,000 when they upgrade his minutes to 20.
What I mean, it's you're never gonna get him. You're just never gonna get him as a good play. He's going to be way too loved by everybody. Everybody's going to want to play him.
Yeah, another thing to like this game less, too, is that we've got, Rudy Gay's coming back tonight, just blah. It's annoying because it's a high-scoring game you want to get pieces of. I think it's really just Aldridge for me.
Yeah, and I don't even think I'm going to do that. But that would be my play if I had to.
Yeah.
All right, so last game of the night. So Utah, the Hammer, so Utah against Golden State. First of all, we are gonna talk FanDuel, but I don't know I don't know who the CEO is of FanDuel, whoever's in charge of making the salaries over there. But Donovan Mitchell must have slept with his girlfriend or something like that, because there's some grudge against Donovan Mitchell over there that no matter how many points that he scores, they just keep on lowering his price. He's like 6,200, I think, on FanDuel.
Bizarre.
Yeah. And then Buddy Hield might have slept with the guy's mother, because he's like 5,300. It's kind of ridiculous. And Lou Williams is 6,200, whatever. But even on DraftKings, nah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it today. But Mitchell at 7,800 doesn't even look to be that bad a play. I mean, at Golden State.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to do it today, but and again, I got to get out of my head that he's just so much better on FanDuel. That doesn't necessarily mean he's bad on DraftKings, just because he's awesome on FanDuel. So Donovan Mitchell is, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to play him. So he actually looks to be pretty decent. I'm not going to go down to other guys. I'm not going to play Gobert or the other guys. Maybe I'll let you talk to me about that. And on the Golden State side, for me, it's just Russell. So maybe that's another thing I could do, is I could do a Russell Mitchell thing where it won't be as owned as it has been the last couple of weeks. And maybe that could be a way I kind of pivot a little bit. So again, Russell on Golden State, Mitchell on Utah, and that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, it's weird because we don't really know, like, if Draymond's going to play. I don't know, man. Like, this is a spot where all season long I've been on the, hey, let's stack the game against Golden State and hope they keep it close. But I think that for me, like you in this game, like, it's just – I have a little bit of interest in Gobert because I think he's going to smash, but I don't really – again, centers, we're not going to play him. But right. I do want to mention he's probably going to smash too. So if you want to use him as one of your 700 centers on fantasy draft,
right.
Right. On the Golden State side, I do think that D'Angelo Russell is definitely in play. You have to beat Utah from the outside if you're going to beat him. Has not been shooting the ball well and has put up 43, 53, and 50. Now, one of those was in overtime, but still. Actually, two of them weren't overtime. I have a hard time thinking the game. I mean, not that it won't stay close, but just that it's going to be like a really competitive back and forth game. I don't know where I stand. I'll have a tiny bit of Russell. I'll have a tiny bit of Mitchell on DraftKings, but mostly it's going to be on FanDuel, and that's basically it for me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play either of them unless they're together. Even so, I might not play them. But that again, that would be my. I'm with you. Is I like to stack against Golden State too, but I just don't think that's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, and Anyway.
So again, looking through the slate, I mean, for me, it's kind of the same as I thought. Kind of going in, it's like the key is what you do with this Clippers and Celtics stuff. And again, you like the Clipper stuff. I don't say like the Clipper stuff. You think the value is associated with those Clippers is just a lot harder to fade than the ones associated with the Celtics, which definitely makes sense considering that the Celtics have had this kind of lineup before. But I think that what I'm going to do, I think a couple approaches. One, like I said, is try to stack Memphis guys alongside of it. Number two, try to stack Trae Young alongside of the Clipper guys who are going to play that. Or just go totally different games like the two I've mentioned with the Minnesota Chicago or the Indiana Phoenix. Stack those games a little bit and then just kind of like filter in the Clippers or Celtic chalk alongside of it. Because like if you just play Clippers and Celtics, for example, and Dedmond, you'll have just really, really nice looking cash lineups that just won't win GPPs.
I totally agree. But you could always throw those lineups in with a Huerter,
right, Young
or Huerter or whatever and get a little mini stack going. Or maybe, I wish there was a guy I could find other than just Crowder, but Crowder in Memphis, let's say, what if he has one of his 35, 40-point nights? Then you could be different just enough. All right, well, I'm going to go through real quickly just the players that I have in the order. Like, you've got the obvious big tier guys we want to target for me. That goes Dedmon, Williams, the chalk eating, Harrell, Shamet. Those are the guys. I think Shamet's going to be lower owned than he should be here. So he's the one I'm making the most of a commitment to because I'm going to play him probably almost as much as the other guys, or about as much. Then you've got the next tier, which would call the Boston guys. I would say Hayward slightly with an edge over the other guys, but honestly, I love Marcus Smart, although with the new projections, now it's looking like everybody's going to play him as well. Am I missing something? Because I'm just going to make sure something that Jason Tatum is in fact playing, because for some reason these ownerships got a little too high on these Boston guys. I think the Boston guys I might have to take a little bit of a longer look at trying to fade mostly. But I think your natural build is going to go 2 Clippers, 1 player from Boston minimum. If you're building out a script, I really think it's really hard for somebody not to crush in there. But Boston, maybe not. Maybe I could see a game where Boston sort of it evens out between the main guys. I also want in the same range of these guys, I want Bradley Beal, I want Trae Young, I want John Collins. Some of these are for run back purposes. In Young and Collins' case, the other is the mispricing on Beal. And then I want to run on the other side. I want to run Jay Crowder back also. So he's a guy I would play in my where I'm having more than one Boston player. And then you get into Aldridge, Sabonis, Siakam, Lowry, Brogdon. Those guys I all have is rated very similarly. And I'm starting to think that people might get a little bit more off of the Siakam thing. And I just think that there's a lot of upside here for the 6.9K price tag. And people are going to assume he's going to play 32 minutes. Well, I also know there's a chance he could, who knows? He could end up playing a lot more if it, he's coming back from the injury. They had to be delicate with him. I just feel like that he's going to be, his minutes are going to keep going up and up, and he's just way too cheap.
Hey, I have a question for you. When you say that if you're going to run a script, you'll run, let's say minimum 1 Clippers, minimum 1 Celtics, or whatever it is, wouldn't you think that if you just didn't even put that rule in, that because of the way they project, they would just give it to you anyway?
No,
Okay.
it'll get mixed up. It'll just because they'll combine the highest optimized totals, and sometimes it will do it, but mostly it's not going to divide it up for you.
Okay. I mean, I'm telling you, the more I'm looking at these ownerships, as I'm kind of looking down, I think I might try what I kind of alluded to is take a shot with like a 5% owned LeBron or something like that, like a 5% owned Cat. It's again, on this slate, it's kind of tough to find, the place to put 10K guys in with all this great 7K value and stuff. Maybe that's what you have to do. I mean, not have to do, but I don't know. I'd be kind of content to have like a 5% LeBron and just kind of root for him to show off with the Garden, or have a 5% Cat and hope that, he's in full gear against a Chicago team that really can't guard bigs. I don't know.
Or what about Harden? He just has to have a normal game.
Right. Yeah, or Harden just to not miss every 3 he takes.
Yeah, Harden shoots 40% from the floor and all of a sudden puts up 80 fantasy points and you look like a genius and he's 5% owned.
Hey, let me give you one, I want to say story, one quick observation. So we didn't talk about the Martin Luther King Day slate because we weren't here yesterday. So if you guys, if ever you were really thinking of playing like GPP lineups and playing like chalk, like a lot of chalk, I wish you could have seen kind of the way the leaderboard kind of worked in the Martin Luther King Day slate, especially the later games, because we talked about this when we did the review, that we said that Lillard and Whiteside were just basically locks and they're going to be really, really high owned, and they're just great, whatever it is. And so in the MLK Day slate, these guys were both on DraftKings like 80%, right? So like, and when I was watching, and I had lineups, I had lines with these 2 guys just locked in, right? And I had other guys throughout the board, but you see like almost every time like they scored, like you didn't go up at all, right? And you think that's logical because everybody else has them, but not until you actually see it on like a slate. And like sometimes like I would have Whiteside score and I'm like, yes, I go up, and I actually went down because like someone else passed him the ball or something like that. And there's another guy who stacked it a little better, with a 3% guy, got the assist, or yeah, okay, I got Lillard score, but then on the run back, Jordan Poole, who I didn't have, scored or something like that. So It's when you play chalk and you don't have differentiators, like you end up like reducing it, and this could be a good thing or bad thing, to like instead of an 8-person lineup, you're all of a sudden now are competing for a 6-person lineup. And unless the 6-person lineup you have has a lot of upside, is different from the other person's 6-person lineup, then the fact that you were just such a genius and, oh boy, I'm going to pick Lillard and Whiteside, it really doesn't do that much for you, especially in GPPs.
Yeah, and then but obviously pivoting off of them wouldn't have done much for you either.
No.
There's nothing you can do sometimes. All right, man. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm just going to say that I don't want to go on a limb yet quite with this, but just if it's too much if the game's close nonsense. Never mind. I'm not going on a limb. I'm going to make a prediction that Bradley Beal scores over 50 fantasy points tonight.
I love it. That would be just perfect.
I would love it too. And I also think
good.
Trae Young.
I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to figure out what soda I'm gonna order when Deadman's 80%.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, we got to go. We'll get back to you shortly. For Sheets, I'm Bobby. Good luck tonight. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.